Welcome to Global West. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The Miraflores locks, once alive with the roar of engines and machinery, were a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless march of global commerce. Day and night, ships from every corner of the world passed through, carrying goods that fueled economies and connected nations. But on September 19, 2025, this bustling artery of trade fell silent. At dawn, the last ship, the Ever Fortune, slipped out, and the massive steel gates closed with a final echoing clang. The sound reverberated through the empty locks, marking the end of an era. The order came from Washington, D.C. The Panama Canal was closed under U.S. authority. This decision was not made lightly. It was a strategic move in a complex geopolitical chess game. Confusion swept the canal zone. Workers who had dedicated their lives to the canal's operation were left in a state of shock and disbelief. Panamanian workers watched in disbelief as U.S. naval officers secured the locks. The sight of foreign military personnel taking control of their national treasure was a bitter pill to swallow. This was no invasion but a bureaucratic seizure with explosive consequences. The legalities were clear, but the emotional and economic impacts were profound. Dozens of ships were stranded, their routes and schedules shattered. The ripple effects of this closure were felt across the globe. The world stock markets plunged as news of the deliberate shutdown spread. Investors panicked and the financial stability of many nations was thrown into question. This was not a technical glitch but a calculated geopolitical move. Analysts debated the long-term implications, but one thing was clear: the global order had been disrupted. The U.S. cited security threats and treaty violations, effectively shutting off a vital artery of global commerce. The justification was met with skepticism and outrage. The international community was left stunned, scrambling for answers. Emergency meetings were convened, but solutions were elusive. In Panama City, outrage erupted. Citizens took to the streets, their anger directed at both the U.S. and their own government for allowing such a situation to unfold. President José Raúl Mulino condemned the closure as an illegal attack on sovereignty. His words were strong, but the reality on the ground was even stronger. Protesters gathered at the U.S. Embassy, waving flags and denouncing a new era of American imperialism. The tension was palpable and the future uncertain. The dream of an independent Panama, realized in 1999, seemed to vanish overnight. The memories of past celebrations now felt like a cruel joke. The canal was more than infrastructure. It was a symbol of national pride and economic independence. Its closure by a foreign power struck at the nation's very soul. The emotional toll on the Panamanian people was immense. Families who had worked the canal for generations were left in limbo. The world had just become a much larger, more uncertain place. Shipping routes were disrupted and the cost of goods began to rise. The silence over the canal was a warning. Global order had shifted. The echoes of this event would be felt for years to come. The Panama Canal is a 51-mile engineering marvel, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Carved through dense jungle and rugged terrain, it stands as one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects ever attempted. Today, it serves as the central artery of global maritime trade, with thousands of ships passing through its waters every year. For over a century, it's connected the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, slashing shipping times and costs for businesses and nations alike. Before the canal, ships faced a perilous 13,000-mile journey around Cape Horn at the tip of South America, battling treacherous waters and unpredictable weather. The canal cut that distance to just 5,200 miles, transforming global shipping routes and making international trade faster and more efficient. Today, 5 to 6% of all global maritime trade passes through its locks each year, making it a vital link in the world's supply chain. For the United States, the canal is even more critical. An astonishing 70% of canal traffic is tied to American ports, supporting millions of jobs and countless industries. The canal moves everything from grain and agricultural products that feed the world, to liquefied natural gas, electronics and high-tech goods that power modern life. Even cars and vehicles make their way through this waterway, fueling the U.S. economy and keeping shelves stocked. Its innovative lock system lifts ships 85 feet over the Continental Divide, allowing massive vessels, some carrying over 14,000 containers, to cross from ocean to ocean. The canal is the backbone of just-in-time supply chains worldwide, ensuring goods arrive where and when they're needed. When it runs smoothly, its impact is almost invisible. Goods simply appear on store shelves and industries keep humming. But when the canal is disrupted, it quickly becomes a global choke point, causing delays, shortages, and price spikes around the world. Its closure is not just Panama's problem, it's a crisis for the entire world, reminding us how interconnected and dependent we are on this century-old marvel. The September shutdown was the result of years of rising tension, as the world's reliance on the Panama Canal grew ever more critical. What began as a series of minor disputes soon escalated into a crisis with global consequences. The Trump administration, taking office in 2025, revived talk of U.S. control over the canal, citing national security and the need to protect American interests. This rhetoric echoed Cold War-era anxieties, stirring debate both at home and abroad. The U.S. accused Panama of excessive toll hikes, some up over 200%, arguing these increases violated treaty promises of fairness and transparency. Shipping companies, already squeezed by global supply chain disruptions, faced mounting costs. With most canal traffic tied to the U.S., these hikes were seen as an economic attack, fueling inflation and threatening to disrupt the flow of goods from Asia to the Americas. The stakes for global commerce had never been higher. Meanwhile, Chinese companies operated major ports at both canal entrances, raising U.S. fears of Beijing's growing influence in the region. The presence of Chinese state-backed firms added a new layer of geopolitical complexity. Washington demanded Panama curb Chinese involvement, but Panama resisted, determined to assert its sovereignty and maintain economic partnerships beyond the U.S. Environmental stress added to the crisis. A severe 2024 drought had already exposed the canal's vulnerability, reducing water levels and limiting ship traffic. Climate change was no longer a distant threat, but a present danger. The U.S. argued Panama was failing to secure the canal's future, justifying intervention and increased oversight. Security concerns now intertwined with environmental and economic anxieties. Politics, economics, and climate risks collided, setting the stage for a dramatic U.S. move. The world's attention turned to Panama, where every decision carried global repercussions. The canal's fate became a flashpoint for global power struggles as nations weighed their interests and alliances. The world watched as commerce, sovereignty, and security clashed in Panama, uncertain of what the next chapter would bring. The summer of 2025 saw tensions boil over, as a series of events pushed the region to the brink. U.S. demands to roll back tolls and review Chinese port operations were met with firm Panamanian defiance, escalating the standoff. A leaked intelligence report alleged Chinese coordination to disrupt the canal, giving the U.S. a security pretext to intervene. The U.S. invoked the 1977 Neutrality Treaty, claiming Panama failed to ensure neutral, efficient operation of the vital waterway. The shutdown was framed as a necessary step to restore order, plunging global trade into chaos and leaving the world searching for answers. The canal's closure triggered a massive maritime traffic jam. Hundreds of ships were stranded, forced to wait or reroute thousands of miles around Cape Horn or through the Suez. Shipping costs soared, delays mounted, and consumers faced higher prices and empty shelves. For Panama, the economic fallout was immediate, billions in lost revenue and jobs at risk. The U.S. action crippled a key partner's economy, fueling resentment and instability. Globally, fragile supply chains buckled under new pressure. The closure exposed the world's dependence on a single choke point. The ripple effects were just beginning. The Panama crisis hit as other global choke points were already under strain. Attacks in the Red Sea had forced ships to avoid the Suez Canal, making Panama even more vital. Now, with both canals compromised, global shipping lost its two main shortcuts. Ships faced longer, costlier routes, driving up freight rates and causing widespread delays. Climate-driven disruptions had already exposed the canal's fragility. The U.S. shutdown compounded the sense of unreliability, shaking faith in global trade routes. The closure was a systemic shock, threatening the very architecture of global commerce. With the canal silent, the world waits for a solution. A swift diplomatic fix is possible, perhaps a freeze on toll hikes and a third-party audit in exchange for reopening. Meanwhile, businesses scramble to reroute shipments and rethink supply chains. Nearshoring and alternative routes like rail corridors across Mexico may gain traction. The crisis could revive talk of a rival canal or new land-based trade routes. The future of globalization hangs in the balance. For ordinary people, the impact will be felt in higher prices and uncertainty. The silent locks of Panama are a stark reminder. Global stability is never guaranteed.